All right, and welcome to the Fine Food Podcast. I'm your host, Sin George. Very special guest, a first timer on the podcast, Sin Challenge. Yes, another Sin. Sin, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you on.
My pleasure. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time coming.
Here we are. Sin Squared.
Sin Squared, exactly. It's a Sin Squared kind of podcast. We've been trying to get this together for a little while, and I'm glad that we're finally doing it.
I call my people, so call your people.
Hey,
try to get it back and forth.
It's all management. It's all emails. We're here now. We're going to discuss a cult classic from a little while back, Donnie Darko, 2001, directed by Richard Kelly. Great fucking movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, we picked this one because I think we both share a bit of a love for kind of these deeper movies that have interesting theories and interesting topics. And I would love to get your opinion on what you thought about the movie, why this one kind of stands out to you, and maybe when did you first watch it? Did you watch it when you were a younger kid?
So, you have certain movies that you watch as a kid, and I probably watched it when I was 14, 15, and I was like, Donnie Darko is a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and after watching it, I'm like, it was a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't really fully understand
at all,
grasp the movie. And I watched it again. I was a little bit older, and I finally watched it in my late 20s, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is a great movie."
Yeah, it kind of gets better with time. I think.
You can completely understand the complexity of the movie, and it's very ambiguous.
It is.
So you can kind of get your own feel for what you think the movie's about.
Mm.
But I find with Gyllenhaal, he just makes these movies, like he picks these movies that are really like abstract and just really crazy, like mind-bending movies, but really enjoyed it.
Yeah, 100%.
And watching it again, I was blown away.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a good one. Like you said, it's very ambiguous. It's left to interpret. Like at the end of it, you can kind of figure it out for yourself, unless you want to watch a lot of explainer videos to kind of figure out what it is.
People got balls there.
But yeah, like what's funny about it? Like when it did release, apparently, it didn't make much money at all at the box office. Like it made fuck all.
Yeah.
And I listened to Gyllenhaal talk about it. That I think he kind of went away. It was like a year later or something like that. He was doing like a play in the UK or something like that. And then people started. I think it was like released on DVD and things like that. People started getting around it, started watching it, and he started feeling this like hype about it. He's like, what the hell? Like it's gaining a second life kind of thing. And through that became like a cult classic. And it's probably one of the bigger kind of cult classic films that came throughout that era. Because it was a little bit, of an unknown, no one really saw it, that kind of thing, and gained this like huge following. Like you said, watching it even today, it's fucking even better than what it was. I think,
it's
isn't
it an indie movie?
It is, yeah.
Movie? Yeah,
and it holds up. Like it holds up so well today.
I know. It was just I always wonder how a movie comes out and it gets so much criticism and it's like this is shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like,
it's
flicks
fantastic.
Like, you know what? It's fucking actually really good. And then still from 20 years ago, it holds.
Yeah.
The story holds. Like the actors in the movie as well as I was watching, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They've got a fucking strong cast in the movie that you didn't think about when you were younger. You're like,
whatever.
I mean, I'm like, oh, fuck, Patrick Swayze,
Drew Barrymore, Jena Malone.
Yeah, it's insane.
Seth Rogen's first film.
Fucking Rogen.
His first feature film.
In the background. I'm like, is that fucking Seth Rogen?
I know.
It was insane.
You know what's the other thing? Like when you see Seth Rogen in the film, for me, like the movie's great. But the only thing that throws me off this movie is like buying that Seth Rogen is a bully. Because like now you know Seth Rogen is like, the funny man. You've known him as that for so long.
Super high guy.
Yeah. And like, exactly. You do a great Seth Rogen laugh. His first line in the film is, or he's like, I don't know, that's not his only line, but his first line is like, I like your boobs. He's like, but he's just like this bully that doesn't really fit who Seth Rogen is. But it's weird and it's funny to see him like.
Well, he's a guy who latches on to a bully.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, I'm cool because I'm with the bully.
Yeah, true.
But
the other
like
guy's
really
the main bully, really.
Yeah.
That's true. The other guy's really the main bully. Like you said, great fucking cast. The pairing of Jake Gyllenhaal and his sister Maggie Gyllenhaal and actually playing siblings in this movie is also really cool to see. Like you don't get a lot of those scenarios in actual films, right? And that kind of
Maggie was hot in that movie.
She was Maggie. Shout out to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Shout out to Maggie. You know what? I looked up Maggie today. She's not looking that hot anymore. Jake's looking pretty hot. Maggie kind of time did its thing, unfortunately.
But she's still a great actress and beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's their sibling rivalry was actually like really good in the film. And I think they like again, listen to Gyllenhaal talk about this a little bit, but like working with your sister as well was like quite an interesting experience. Because like they know each other so well, and like now they have to also pretend to be these characters, but also pretend to be brother and sister. And he talked about a lot about like her being like he'll do a line and she'll be like, oh, really? Like, is that what you want to do? Yeah. Which would be like interesting, like especially if your siblings like giving you shit like during taking. But yeah, amazing cast. Movie came out 2001, but it's set in the 80s, 1989, I believe. You know, I didn't remember that fact.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't remember that until I watched it last night again.
Far out.
It's an 80s movie. Now that you think about it, like it doesn't really like there is elements of the 80s. Like the soundtrack is amazing.
The 80s.
The clothing and like the hairstyles a little bit, like not extremely. It's not like Donnie Darko's rocking a mullet, but the bully is. So there is a little bit of it.
That was a very nice mullet, by the way.
It was a very nice mullet. And it's come back in fashion.
He actually looked like an Eshe.
He does look like an Eshe.
It was just the futuristic.
Yeah. It's like present day.
It was. If I looked at him, I would imagine him to be a year 9 at an Aussie school right now.
Plays footy. Yeah. Right. That's it.
Perfect haircut.
I know. Great. Great setting. But I thought like, the soundtrack's great.
Soundtrack was sick.
Yeah, it's I don't know why because obviously if it came out in the 2000s. I don't know why the setting had to be in the 80s, but I dig it. Yeah,
it's really nice. I thought it was like early 90s.
Well, that's when I like remembered the movie. I always think that it's like 90s. It's an 80s flick.
It felt like it was the time that you were watching it. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack was sick.
Yeah, but that's why maybe it holds up today as well because it seems kind of timeless, even though the music is like
very kind of Stranger Things vibes with the music. It's really good.
It does, yeah, it does. You know, what's a funny fact about the film? Our man Patrick Swayze, rest in peace, great actor. He wore his own clothing in the movie. From the 80s
really?
that he had. How good is that?
Proper method acting. I got my own clothes.
Yeah, I'll bring my own stuff. It's like you picture him having this like huge wardrobe. It's like these are my clothes from the 70s, the 80s.
Well, it's Patrick Swayze, man. Like, you got your own shit. You were.
He was loaded. He had he had the clothing. That's great.
Because he would have done that like peak fame, probably.
Yeah, probably. He had a good run in the 90s, like in the late 80s, 90s and stuff like that. Because he had a bunch of films then, like Roadhouse, and like he did Ghost and stuff in the 90s. So those were all big. I think like 2000, early 2000s probably slowed. I think after this movie, it probably slowed down for him. But he was like, big actor, big face. I think Drew Barrymore as well, and they mentioned it, her being in this movie, because I think her production company helped get the movie made.
Yeah, really.
And they're saying that if she wasn't attached to it, probably wouldn't have been released in cinemas and things like that.
No way.
Yeah.
She was young in this movie as well.
She was pretty young. Yeah.
Very young. And Gyllenhaal looked like a freaking 16-year-old kid.
He was just a boy.
The first scene, I'm like, he's so small and skinny.
I know. How old was he in the movie? That's what I want to know.
Like, he's 41 now, 42 now. So if he came out 20 years ago, he would have been 21, but he looked so young.
I know.
Super young.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, you're watching Jake Gyllenhaal right now, but he's a high schooler. But like now you know him as like, a man.
A man.
I can't find it. It was 19, I think.
19. He was so small.
Yeah, it's interesting. His character is very interesting in the film.
Super interesting.
What do you think about him?
Like, my first thought straight away was like watching it without getting too into the story. So my first impression is a misunderstood kid.
Yeah.
With a very disconnected mother.
Yeah.
So I felt like the mother was there but not there.
Yeah,
and she struggled to find a connection with her son. And the only connection she could get to her son was through the therapist.
Yeah, send him off to therapy.
Yeah, so I felt like she wanted to help, but she didn't know what to do. Especially that scene when she walks out. And you can all say this when we were younger. You go, yeah, bitch. Like under your breath, like,
bitch.
he said it. And she's like, oh, what kind of son do I have? Like, what have I done?
My son hates me.
Yeah. So like, I completely get that because like he's a very misunderstood kid.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a brain full of like fireworks in terms of thoughts and just all over the shop. And look, obviously when that age gone through puberty, you're just like trying to figure yourself out, and all of his hormones are like all over the shop. So you're trying to think out like, what am I trying to think about? Who am I?
Yeah.
How am I going to connect with people around me, and do I fit in? And I feel like with him, he's like a really, really intelligent kid.
Extremely intelligent.
Not fitting in with the status quo, the people around him. And I think he's always looking at adults and the way that they are. Yeah, and he's questioning like, is this what it is when we're older?
Yeah. Do I want to become like this? Yeah.
You can tell one of his mates. His mates are like, you know, would you fuck Smurfette and all this blah, blah, blah stuff. Yeah. And he gets really deep in these conversations. And the conversations remind me of when Tarantino does his movies. He has got like dialogue, just random shit for like 5-10 minutes.
Sure.
You know? And it was one of those scenes. And then Gyllenhaal chimes in and just starts saying his opinion. And his mates are like, man, Donnie, why are you going to be that smart shit around here? You know, he's a really intelligent guy.
Smart? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Why would you want to be a Smurf? They have no penises. And why would you want to live if you don't have a penis?
Don't have a dick. Yeah. And his mates are like,
fuck. Why do you have to ruin this? Right. You're so fucking right, dude. I know. He's extremely interesting.
Complex.
Very complex, yeah.
Really complex.
You don't know, well, like throughout the movie, all right, well, first of all, big spoiler warning, if you haven't seen Donnie Darko, check it out, come back, enjoy the rest of this breakdown. But it's been out for a while. I mean, if you haven't seen it, come on, what are you doing? Go watch it. But anyway, the whole movie, you're wondering, he's in therapy, right? Everything that's happening to him and what he's going through, is he just crazy? Is he going through a psychosis kind of thing, you know? And is he imagining all these things that happen to him? Because he goes on quite a journey.
He goes on a very big journey. Yeah. I think his whole... Well, he was labelled as a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And then obviously with the opening scene, where you see him on the bike in the middle of nowhere, waking up, it's probably something that's happened multiple times.
Sure.
Multiple times. So who knows how many times he's waken up and, you know, sleepwalked and God knows what. But, yeah, you see he's really troubled in the movie.
He is,
and that would fuck with you. You know, like, that would fuck with me now.
Yeah,
let alone if I was, you know, 16, 17-year-old kid in high school, you know, having, you know, invisible fucking bunny friend called Frank telling me that the world's going to end, you know? And you have no one else to turn to other than your therapist.
Sure.
So it'd be complex for that kid.
It'd be very complex. I was trying to break him down. I was trying to figure like him out in high school. Like, where does he fit in that high school? And I was trying to like think about it. He's not really, he's an extremely intelligent guy, like we said, but he's not really a nerd. He's a bit of a freak is probably the best way to describe him, I think. Because he does like a lot of like funny, like fucked up shit, but he's also super smart. And he's not like, because of his condition, everyone just like brushes that off because he's like that. But he's not afraid to speak his mind and do like all these things that the other students kind of find funny as well, you know? And obviously like Jena Malone's character comes in, she, you know, decides to sit next to him because she thinks he's the, you know, best looking guy in the class or whatever.
Cutest kid.
Exactly.
Cutest boy in the class.
Cutest boy in the class. And she's kind of keen on him as well because he's kind of weird and interesting and stuff like that. And she's probably a little bit disturbed herself as well.
But maybe that's just what draws her in, you know, because it feels like he's a kid. Like most kids, they're in school because they have to be in school.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be some of the kids that are in school that at that age know, I don't know if I can be in school.
I don't want to be here.
I have to be in school. Like, and then you can tell by his PE teacher when they speak about fear and love. And how he goes, you can't just literally label this as one or the other. Like in life, there's things in between.
Can't categorize life into fear and love.
You gotta choose one of these. And he's like, what the hell? I can't even have a conversation with you. So he feels like he's too smart to be in that scenario.
He is,
but he's just doing it anyway. And then he questions it, and then he's just met with like a robotic response, like, just answer the question.
Yeah. He's trying to get out of that system and crush the system while he's in high school. But see, that's the interesting part. Like, so there's so many theories about like what the movie means and things like that. But even that whole thing is like, he's super rebellious to like the way the system in the world is. And like you said, like adults becoming this way and kind of in a way like robotic and kind of like just a part of that system. And like that scene and her character's like, you know, either like embodies that because she's just trying to like position everything as this and that and can't be anything else, and you got to follow the rules and you got to do this and that.
the square pegs and the square pegs, round holes and round holes, and
Exactly.
this and this, and that's it. There's nothing in between.
He's just too clever for them. Yeah,
Why not?
too clever. It's interesting. Like at the start of the movie, he gets told by Frank that he's got 28 days, right, until the world's gonna end. And then he keeps seeing Frank, right, and it gets weirder and weirder, and he almost starts developing these like powers in a way, because he starts being able to see kind of, or has visions of like what he has to do, but they're kind of like, it's either like a vision, but he's actually doing it, like when he floods the school and stuff like that.
There's visions, and
yeah.
there's those little kind of they're like apparently it's in that book from
The Philosophy of Time
Grammar
Travel
of Death. Yeah, so
Grammar Death.
So every time he sees like the little tube thing leaving their body,
spears,
the spears. So that spear is like an indication of where that person is destined to go.
Yeah.
So basically, he can kind of see into the future.
How interesting is that? Yeah.
Pretty interesting, because at first you're like, what the fuck's going on?
I know.
And then over time you realize like he can see, a predestined path. That's why he questions his science teacher. It's like, wait, what if I can see the future, and what if you can change it? So you then you know your own fate, but then you contradict. If you know your own fate, then you can change it. So then there is no fate.
Sure. What is fate?
Yeah, what is fate? So the movie goes pretty deep. And as a kid, I'm like, fate.
Yeah.
So
I like those spear things.
Yeah, I like that. The big bunny. It's pretty funny, and then the world's going to end. But as you get older, like this is a pretty complex movie. If you look at it in terms of like the physics stuff, like they actually use real physicians and real physics and implement in movie, which most movies don't do.
Well, the theory of like a wormhole opening up, and like even the science teacher explains to him, you need this vessel, like to get through and things like that. It's all based on actual science fact. Yeah.
And the whole spear thing, like I think I read that one of the physicians spoke about, and this is like I think it's the quantum realm, but it's like 4D. Say you are in the middle of the spear. And behind you is the beginning of the spear, and then in front of you is the end of the spear. That's like your life, and you are this 3D thing on this timeline. And then eventually the end of the spear is the end of you. That's your fate.
Right.
So that's why he's like, what if I change? The spear's this way, I'm going that way. Can I change my fate? And that's when his science teacher, like, I think some of the characters in the movie know, like they are like, let's say like a character as a character, like Donnie's having his own little movie, and these characters know what Donnie should do, but they shouldn't tell him what to do, but they kind of guide him.
Sure.
And I feel like his English teacher and his science teacher are guiding him. That's why when he had that conversation with his science teacher, he's like, I'm going to get in trouble if I keep talking to him. Like, how the fuck are you get in trouble?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Where it's me and you in a room, and I'm asking questions, and you're like, I think we need to stop now.
Sure. I wanted to ask, because you used to be a teacher, and I wanted to ask you what the conflict there was really. Why would he not, like, is it him, is the science teacher like passing on his personal beliefs and stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing that to a kid in high school? See,
I think in terms of that scenario, I think that if, you have, let's say he's the protagonist and he's like, let's just say he's supposed to be the savior in his story.
Yeah.
If you say there's a specific timeline or a path that you should follow, and sometimes if you interfere too much in a timeline or a path, you might sway that person a different way.
Yeah.
A way that you didn't want him to go in the first place. So I think he can tell that Donnie was asking the right questions. Yeah. And he came to the right point, and he's like, if I keep talking to you about this, it might sway you off the path you should go. So he was like guiding him, and he's like, all right, I feel like you know what you're talking about.
You need to figure it out yourself.
Yeah. If I was a teacher, I'm like, we'll just keep talking back and forth. So it was just really abrupt out of nowhere. He's like, we're going to end this right now.
It gives you that feeling that they might know something more, or they're like, the characters in the film could be seen as figures that
sell a door.
Yeah.
We should write sell a door.
Sell a door, yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about, sell a door? Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like subconsciously planting this seed in his head that, he sees the sell a door and he's like, this is what I'm supposed to be.
True.
So instead of her saying like, hey, sell a door, nice as 2 words put together in English language, you're going to see one of these. She just puts it there. And she was very upset because Donnie was the last person that she spoke to. And she was really upset of leaving the school mainly because of him. Yeah. Not because of her job. So you can see that kind of connection there as well. So I feel like there was people in that timeline, kind of that alternate universe timeline, they were guiding him to make that decision. Sure.
No, definitely. It's it's interesting they were there, because that's like one of the theories, that all of them were kind of a part of it. And like the big theory about it is, like you said before, alternate universe. Like, especially at the end of the film when Donnie
completes the loop.
Completes the loop, right? But they talk about this kind of parallel universe, or they call it the tangent universe.
Tangent universe.
Yeah. And they talk about that being a whole complete different
like a break off
of the actual so that these people are kind of aware of what's happening in this tangent universe. Like they know what role they need to play in this like universe. Let's get into that theory because I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because the beginning of the film,
it's like an allegory. It's like a story within a story, or characters
exactly.
within characters.
Yeah, exactly. Like the what sets it off is that engine, right? The jet engine crashing into their house, and it would have crushed Donnie if Frank didn't lead him out of the house and take him to fucking whatever, right? So that engine falling down, they couldn't figure out where it came from. No plane. But what the theory of this whole like tangent universe and how it got created is that this mysterious item came through a wormhole, right? And disrupted this timeline, right?
So
because
set it off.
And because this timeline was disrupted and Donnie was a part of that, he's now become this kind of vessel that needs to fix this loop, right? Fix this time loop. And that's it's a very interesting theory. And it kind of makes sense, right?
It does, yeah.
And I think there's a bunch of videos and a bunch of guys that kind of explain and go into theory about it and things like that on the internet. But essentially, at the end of the film, Donnie is like, so there's like I think it's like a black hole or something's like happening with the sky, right? It's a black hole, and their theory is that Donnie at the end, he knows what his destiny is, right? And apparently he uses telekinesis to rip the engine off the plane. And he sends it through that wormhole, which sends it directly at the start of the film and crushes his house. So it's like he kind of created that loop as well at the same time, but he knows his destiny and what he needs to do, which is interesting.
See, I heard about the telekinesis theory as well.
I don't know how I feel about the telekinesis theory.
With me, I'm like, I don't think he did that. I think that plane hit the wormhole. That came out, and then it'll just keep repeating.
That part of it fell into it.
Yeah. So I don't think he'd used telekinesis because I read into that. I'm like, no. I don't think he was godlike.
Yeah.
But even though he had that whole like this God's path talk.
If they showed him using telekinesis early in the film or at any point in the film, then it makes more sense. Yeah.
Then fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that plane, regardless if it hit that wormhole, that would have come off. Sure. That part of the engine, it would have happened. And rinse and repeat unless he changed something.
Yeah, true.
Because that plane, his mum and sister died.
Exactly, yeah. You know what I wondered afterwards? Do his mum and sister die when at the end of the film he stays in his bed and dies? So
this is the thing. I think
what happens in that scenario? So
I think in that scenario, because let's say the plane is part of one alternate universe. Going into the wormhole, let's say it crashes and that part of the plane hits, and then maybe his mum and his sister die in that universe, but in his real universe, they're still alive. Yeah. So it's like the alternate universe or the parallel universe theory, like whatever decision you make, you'll just branch out. One day you wake up, I get a red shirt, branch out, blue shirt, branch out.
So many shirts to
pick from, white undies, red undies. And I think with that decision for him to go back into bed, stop the chain of events. So Patrick Swayze wouldn't be a pedophile. Sure. And then
he would, but he wouldn't have gotten caught out.
Wouldn't have caught. He would have secret pedophile. So he wouldn't have got caught. And then the PE teacher wouldn't have had the little rally for him. And then she would have gone to the dance competition. And
would she have died on the plane with the kids?
That's the thing.
Possibly, yeah.
What if the daughter didn't go
for some reason? Yeah.
What if the plane didn't end up crashing?
Maybe the daughter wouldn't go because Donnie died.
Yeah. Maybe she wouldn't have danced because her parents were like, no, just leave it. Who knows?
Sure.
So it was just a whole chain of events that would have led from him surviving that crash.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it. When you watch it once and then you start thinking about it.
How do you come up with this? Like, how did Kelly, Richard Kelly, how did he come up with this? I think who wrote the film? Who wrote this thing?
I thought Richard Kelly wrote it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so insanely complex, but
yeah, Richard Kelly wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote it. I'm not sure if he made any
complex. Yeah,
other movies after that that were that good, but it's seriously complex. It's a time movie that works. There's a lot of time movies. Just there's too many loopholes.
I know.
And you're like, wait a second, that doesn't add up. But with this one, one, the loopholes all add up. There's no loopholes. Two, it's ambiguous. You can literally, and I've seen so many theories online about like, one guy said that there's aliens communicating to Gyllenhaal and he's the receiver and stuff like that.
Right.
And then
tell me about this because I haven't heard the alien theory.
So like, a fan's guy on Reddit and he went like balls deep into it, and he was saying that Donnie is has been contacted by aliens, like he's a receiver, because if he doesn't fix what's it called, the tangent universe, if he doesn't close that hole in that universe, then the universe that the aliens live in, let's say in their universe, will cease to exist. Right. So they needed him to complete that loop, close that loop for them to exist. And then everything else was still what we talked about. Yeah. Just with aliens there.
Just aliens attached.
And someone was like, you know what, pretty good theory other than the aliens. Yeah. And I get that. But it's one of those things that's ambiguous. You can make your own thing. Like, you know what, as long as you're convincing about it, it makes sense. Makes sense. You know? Floors, And it was like the whole Antichrist and Jesus Christ kind of thing. Yeah. That scene when he's like, you're the fucking Antichrist. Sure. You know? To Swayze, And he might be, and obviously not, the same light as Jesus Christ, because he's done a lot of stupid shit. Flooded his school and burnt houses down. But at the same time, he ends up being a savior. He ends up sacrificing himself
for his family, but in a way for humankind, because he's gone against the system as well, and he's completely it's true. Swayze's character, Jim Cunningham, he even tells him like Satan is going to tempt you 3 times, whether it's through drugs, alcohol, or premarital sex, right? And Donnie goes through all 3 of them throughout the film. He drinks, he ends up smoking a bit of weed at the party, and he has sex with Jena Malone's character as well at the end, which is interesting because it does like that adds up as well then, because he's calling him the Antichrist. He's like, you're the worst because you're the like, Cunningham's the poster boy of like the perfect man, right? He's doing great things for the community, this, that. But behind the curtain, he's a fucking pedophile, right? Yeah. Kiddie porn and stuff like that. So like, it's interesting. That theory adds up as well, that he had to like go on this like mission, kind of figure it out. And kind of Gyllenhaal was the most human character in the movie because he's like complex, is real, doesn't have to be a perfect.
Pulled no punches.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, he's just human.
It's crazy to see that a kid of that age was ahead of his time in maturity and emotional intelligence, even though he had so much shit going on.
I know. It's crazy.
Because, like we said from the start, like he was trying to show what these adults were actually like. Yeah. And
you could see through the bullshit.
Yeah. So as a kid, it's hard for you to bullshit. Primary school kids are just like, oh, you're ugly. They'll just tell you straight out. They won't think. They just say. True. And as you get older, you realize, like, so maybe you should think before you speak. And then when you become an adult, I'm thinking all this stuff. I'm not going to say all this stuff because it's going to offend you, but I'm going to portray myself to be something that I'm not. Yeah, true. Like Cunningham. Yeah. Jim Cunningham was the man to be. True. And then he ended up being a pedophile. Yeah. So it's the greatest becoming the worst. Sure. Overnight.
Was revealed for who he really was. Yeah. The system. Yeah, it's very interesting. The theories are like you said, like I think people are still coming up with theories for the film and like what it could all mean. The other theory that like people also talk about is, well, he's just psychotic. Like the whole time he's just imagining shit. He's done this before. He's done a lot of crazy things in therapy, this, that. And all of it could just be bullshit at the end of the day as well. That it was like, it meant nothing and he imagined the whole thing, right?
Well, in the director's cut, apparently when his therapist is talking to him, she says, your pills are placebo. They're just water.
You can stop taking them,
stop taking them, just water.
True.
So is he just seeing this the whole time?
I know.
Is he dreaming this? You can say, it's all a dream.
It's all a dream.
So and here's the thing, whenever he takes his placebo is when he sees Frank. Most of the time in the movie. So he'll take it and all of a sudden he just hears Frank. So it's weird.
It's interesting that he will see it after he takes it. Yeah,
it's strange. So there's a lot you can create.
Interpret. I loved Jake Gyllenhaal's portrayal of the character. Like he talked about trying not to blink when he's like playing to just kind of get that kind of creepiness and things like that going.
Staring to the abyss.
He pulled it off like so well.
Amazing.
Yeah. Pulled it off so well.
He looked like a troubled kid.
He looked like a very troubled kid.
Like one of those kids you see in classroom in high school, they're like, fuck, this kid's going to kill someone. Yeah. He looked like that.
there's a quote that he mentioned. I think someone told him about how they felt about the movie. They said that the film is very what was it? It was like very calming for the disturbed. No, it's a very disturbed film, but it's very calming for the disturbed or something like that. Like a lot disturbed people really resonate with the film, but it's also a very disturbing film. Like there was something to it there. I think I'm fucking up the quote, but I'll try to find it. But it is. It's like, yeah, it appeals to a lot of people. Like you said, it's like a lot of people that I actually recognize. Like there's so much bullshit happening and stuff like that, and especially when you're a high school kid. I think
you think like
it resonated with a lot of people.
if you're in that class and as a kid you don't really you look at that kid and be like, "Mate, you're just crazy." But as an adult, you might see a kid who's like, "What am I doing here?
Yeah,
Like I'm way above everyone. I'm sick and tired of this education. I'm sick and tired of being treated as a child." So for a child, you look like you're crazy. For an adult, you look like you're rebellious.
Sure.
And you're questioning my authority.
Yeah.
Which what he does in majority of the movie, except to his English and science teachers, which I think his English and science teachers are guiding him and seeing that he's a really intelligent kid.
Yeah.
So they're working together with him.
Sure. They are. Which theory do you like the most? So which one makes the most sense to you? Which one do you go to sleep at night and you're happy with?
The one I'm most happy with. Let's not talk about the alien one. Like I'd like to entertain that one. It's cool, but
I like the lizard people talking to.
I like that one a lot, but logically, I'd probably say that it is a parallel universe. You've got Frank, that I think has come from a different universe, who is dead, who is guiding Donnie to make the right decisions.
Or is it the actual kid who wore the Frank costume?
Yeah, who knows?
But he dies in the. Well, I think that's a part of one of the theories, that he dies in one of the versions of how things play out, because Donnie shoots him, and because he died, he's now sent back and knows everything and has to guide him through it.
Exactly, because when he shot him, it was actually a guy. It was probably in the car.
Yeah.
And he came and was like, "What are you guys doing on the road? What are you doing, man?" And he shot him. And at that time, I thought like, "Oh, there's Frank's just like character," but like, holy shit, it's actually you just killed him with the gun.
True.
You know, so it would have been something that, who knows, it might have been 5 loops. It could have been 1,000 loops. It could have been
true.
Could have been tens of thousands of loops before they figured out what the right way is and how to get, let's say, the basic thing from getting him out of fear into love.
To love.
You know, to then realize that you know he's not alone in this world, and he'd rather die to save the one he loves and his mum and his sister. That's, I think, probably the best explanation would be this troubled kid who thought, like when I spoke about, was it the rabbit? Where they said, who cares if, why are we sad about the rabbit dying? The rabbit doesn't know anything about death, so it just dies.
Right.
Doesn't know anything about life, so it's just dead. It just lives and dies. It's not worried about death. Humans are the only things that are worried about death.
Yeah, right.
Like a lion's not worried about death, just wants to survive. Humans are like, shit, I'm going to die one day. I might die tomorrow. So we're constantly worrying
thinking
about
that.
Yeah. So I think he was a troubled kid who had kind of, if you think about it, nothing to live for, if you kind of look deep into it, he found something to live for. He went from fear to love. And then he figured out that the only way for these people to live, even if they don't know that he saved them, was for him to die.
Interesting.
And it's weird, at the end, it's like they had this shared mutual acknowledgement.
I love that scene, especially the one where they wake up in their sleep, or they feel some sort of disturbance, right?
Yeah.
Each one of them.
That one's really cool because they say that even though that you didn't experience that in your world, if yourself in a different universe did, it kind of comes across as a dream.
Yeah, true.
So all of them experienced all this trauma that happened in this different universe.
This tangent universe.
And it might, for example, let's say Patrick Swayze might, I'm not saying he will, but for example, like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah,
maybe
would he stop
thing.
what he's
doing? Will I stop? You know? Maybe he won't. Maybe the others will. Maybe the others will change their ways.
True. Everyone's kind of thinking about their life choices after that tangent universe kind of closed.
Sometimes you might have like a crazy dream. You're like, wait a second, this dream was way too real for it to be a dream. You know, so say if he's dreamt about his house burning down, cops coming in and finding out that he's a pedophile, he might think, holy, you know, my whole life would be ruined if this happened.
Yeah, true.
What am I doing?
True.
I'm going to get caught one day. It's not going to be like, I'm just going to keep hiding.
Yeah.
This could potentially happen.
Which also plays into that God theory, right? That he kind of saved them all in a way and made them all think about what they're doing with their lives and their choices. Yeah, it's interesting. The last scene as well when Jena Malone pulls up, she doesn't really know Donnie in this version of the universe, right? And she just waves to the mother, and the mother kind of waves back at her as well, and it's real weird because they don't really know each other, and it's like a bit of a weird moment. I thought that was interesting, but I heard Richard Kelly, the director, talk about it, and he said he threw that in because I think when he was a kid, there was a moment
from a window,
someone from a window, waved to him in a hotel, and he like kind of waved them, but they had like a weird moment where it just felt kind of weird. It's like they knew each other, but they didn't. But that's kind of how it felt in the movie.
Acknowledgement, even though you don't know each other, you're like, hey, and you have this like weird spark, weird connection,
but you can't tell what it is. Yeah. That was cool.
It's like, when you meet someone and you're like, man, I feel like I've known you for so long.
Yeah.
I've met someone probably like 2 months ago, and I'm speaking to him like, I know you from somewhere.
Where do I know you from?
And they're like, oh, you this guy's brother? I'm like, I don't have any siblings. Oh, do you go here? I'm like, I don't go here. It feels like I've seen you before, I've spoken to you before, and it's just the weirdest feeling.
Do you think that's because I personally think there's obviously there's very similar people out there, but there's like specific characteristics and personalities that are like almost duplicated across the world with like different people. I don't know, maybe it's a crazy theory.
It might be that.
But it might be that, yeah.
It might be that, or it might be like,
who knows how deep you
sometimes you have a dream
Yeah.
of someone you haven't seen in ages, and then you see that person.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Weird coincidence that
and most
plays
people,
out.
it's like, it'll go over their heads. They'll be like, they won't say, man, I had a dream about you. This is weird. They'll just go over their heads like the way they have a dream.
Sure.
And they'll see each other like, oh, I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah.
But some people will really be vivid in their dreams and then see that person and they'll be thinking, oh, what's going on? It's weird.
Weird coincidence.
It's a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
People can say, oh, it can happen. It's like a one in whatever chance.
Sure.
But sometimes it's weird.
It's like, but it's also that thing. It's like you start shopping for a car, right? And you're so set on like, let's say it's a fucking Mercedes or something like that. You can't stop seeing Mercedes everywhere. Like you just can't start seeing it. But that's because it's on your mind and you're thinking about it, right? Or if it's some sort of topic, you start hearing it on the radio. But is that your mind just tuning in a little bit more because you're interested in it and you're kind of, thinking about it more? It's weird.
I don't know. Like,
or is it coincidence?
It's the same thing when someone says, oh, look for
what is the meaning of life, Charlie?
I don't know. We can go deep in that. But it's the same thing like you look for a red car when you're driving. You're going to see multiple red cars. You look for a Golf, you're going to see heaps of Golfs.
Sure.
You're planting the seed in your head to see this thing.
We've all experienced it.
We've all experienced it, We've experienced deja vu as well. I think there's a lot of weird things that humans experience.
That they can't explain, maybe.
You can't really explain.
Yeah.
You can't really explain it. People see 11/11. I see, it's weird. I don't like saying it, but I see 11/11 all the time.
Do you?
People are like, oh, maybe you look at your phone all the time. Like, I don't.
But when I do, it's 11/11.
I don't keep going, whoa, guess what?
it's 11/11 now.
I waited 12 hours for this. I don't do that. But it's weird that it happens. So there's things you can't explain. I think just like the movie, there's things that the universe does that aligns you, or it will take you to a certain path. Maybe for Donnie, that path was for him to understand that there's two choices in life. You can either live life in fear or live life in love.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up, when he was living life in fear, he ended up going from that fear to rebelling. To doing things that he wanted to do, being outspoken, finally meeting someone, And I feel like towards the end of the movie, connected more with his mum when his mum said, like, how does it feel to have a son for a wacko for a son?
Yeah.
And they shared this moment, like, it feels amazing, it feels great.
Moment, yeah.
It was beautiful, because so many parents could be like, oh my God, my son's crazy.
Yeah. Write him off, think there's something wrong with them.
But at the end of the day, that's still your son.
Sure.
So if you're going to be there for your son, it's either you're going to be there and support 110%, or you're going to be like, oh my God, my son's crazy. And then you had, keeping on the sport teacher's name, but she was saying, there's family values and morals, and it's like, oh, maybe you're not parenting your kids right. And if I was the parent and someone told me that, I would slap you in the face. Like, how do you know what my kids are going through?
Yeah. Don't tell me how to parent.
Don't tell me how to parent.
Yeah, I know.
And the truth of the movie is, people need to understand that teenage kids have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And that can stem from parents. They can stem from surroundings and environment, or the people in your school. And good for Donnie that he had two mates that were with him all the time.
True, yeah.
Like
just
when he left,
when he
left that party, he left, and they're like, "We're going."
Yeah,
they
where
left
are we
that
going?
party, we're on their bike. They're going straight away. So he had those people around him, which was really for me. It was beautiful to see that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the movie touches on a lot of those things that you mentioned, all those coincidences in life, things that we can't really explain, and things like that. But there's like you feel that throughout the movie that's touching on those themes, and you don't have to you don't really have to explain it because we still don't know really, like why do we really feel like deja vu, and why does it feel so like real, and why do you connect with some people and you feel like you've known them for so long. We don't know some of those things, and you don't really. And I think the director as well, Richard Kelly, never wanted to really reveal what the movie meant, and he loves the fact that people are coming up with more theories,
which is good.
Yeah,
you don't want to have like this is
what it is,
like mathematics, like this is the answer. There's nothing else.
It's the equation. It works.
It's the equation. It works. Whatever you're saying, I get it. It sounds pretty good, but it's not right.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have met Gretchen. Right?
Sure.
Gretchen?
Yeah.
He wouldn't have met her if he didn't flood the school. They wouldn't have had that conversation. He wouldn't have sparked that relationship. So that all these things lead up to everything else.
Exactly.
So it's insane. Like I said, say one day you wear a red shirt.
Right. I want to wear the blue shirt.
We're back to the red shirt. Anybody got a red shirt?
Enough about the shirts already.
And there's going to be a girl who's going to be like, you know what? Guys don't wear red shirts. You're wearing a red shirt. And a girl starts chatting to you. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you never know. You have a relationship with this person. You end up having kids. God knows what. You move to Spain.
Or because of this fucking red shirt.
One day you wear, let's say you wear like a Rolling Stones t-shirt. You got from fucking Cotton On, Someone goes like, I love the Rolling Stones. And you have another partner. Or you get some friends. All of a sudden, you're friends with these guys. You guys play basketball together. And then your path goes completely.
Sure.
So even the smallest decision that you make, and look, flooding a school isn't a small decision, but it's something that is done out of like a mischievous way, rebellious way, and doing something rebellious that was for your good, not for your good, for your bad, probably.
You're bad.
So to flood the school, like I don't want to go to school because school sucks. You end up meeting this person that you form a connection with that then just domino affects the rest of the movie.
True, that's life though.
Yeah, that's life.
Yeah. That's crazy. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, but Grandma Death. So she writes this book, right? The philosophy of time travel. The whole time that I'm watching it, and like maybe this is the first time I was watching, but I was trying to figure out what's her role in this thing, and how does she write this thing? Because the science teacher, he explains to him that she was a nun before for a while, whatever, and just one day ended up switching careers, became a science teacher, and actually became a scientist, and wrote this book, right, and explained it all. Like again, she could just be like a part of this story, a part of this journey as well. But I always thought, what if she had some sort of experience back in the day that made her learn about all of this and write these theories? Because her book depicts all of these things that Donnie goes through. What if she went through that same experience but maybe survived it? What if she went through a tangent universe back in the day?
So maybe she did.
Maybe she did.
Maybe she didn't close her time loop.
That's why she keeps going back to the mailbox.
And she keeps going back to the mailbox. Maybe that's why she said every living thing dies on its, by themselves, dies on its own. So maybe she experienced some kind of break in her alternate universe, and she paid attention to it. Some people might not. Let's say every day that you wake up, you might not be in the same universe you were in the day before.
Where am I?
So you might wake up in a different parallel universe, but you don't even notice. They're small little things, So maybe she paid attention to hers. Some kind of tangent universe happened, and she couldn't close the loop, and she's stuck in her own loop,
just waiting for something.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
And she ends up being that kind of pinnacle moment where he goes there.
Yeah.
And that is when that all happens, and that sets off, Gretchen dying, getting killed, him killing Frank.
It was her fate in a way to be there, fate, right?
Yeah. And you get a lot of foreshadowing. There's that one scene where the car in the car arcade crashes as well.
Yeah, true.
A few foreshadowing in the movie as well. So I think she's gone cuckoo. I think Grandma Death experienced some kind of loop that she didn't find a way out of, but Donnie did.
Sure. Possibly. Because she's like a chess piece at the end of it.
Or maybe she's crazy as hell.
Or maybe she's a crazy lady.
If you wrote a book like that, let's say we can understand physics as much as we can to a capacity.
Yeah.
But if you wrote a physics book, you would understand so much more than everyone else. It would drive you crazy.
Yeah.
If you wrote a quantum physics book, which is I can't comprehend. I try to understand it. I can't comprehend.
I can't do it.
And if you're writing something like that, you would go crazy. If you're trying to understand the theory of how life works and how everything around us works, some people go crazy. It will drive you crazy.
From being a nun to writing this book.
To get into that. From believing in God to then going, deep into physics.
Yeah.
It will drive you insane.
It would.
You're going from, a man in the sky for most people to like, oh, you know what? I'm going to try to explain everything that's happening without depicting of characters. I'm going to try to break it down. And she did it. And probably lost her mind. Or she just had to be there. She had to play her part. Yeah. It's interesting. I like Grandma Death. She's an interesting character from the film. Why don't we get into some trivia and fun facts from the movie? Let's do it.
I want to know how much of this you know, and I think we touched on a couple of them. So I'll throw some your way and see what you think about it.
Can we pause the video so I can look up the answers?
You can stay right there, asshole. All right. So at the wrap party for the film, Seth Rogen and Jake Gyllenhaal agreed that they both had no fucking idea what the movie was about. Which was interesting. Yeah. Fair.
Probably too high.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's about.
What's happening here? So the director Richard Kelly, he came up with the idea for those spears, right, going out of the humans or whatever, leading them to their path, while watching a football game while watching football, right? Yeah. Apparently John Madden used this as a bit of a diagram when he was showing how the football players need to move and stuff like that. Yeah. And he was really fucking high, the director. Yeah. And he was like, fuck, like, that could make sense. It's like, if you kind of like, what if this thing's like leading you to your path or where you should go? Yeah. So you kind of use that. And then fun fact, when Donnie experiences it for the first time, he's sitting around the couch with his dad's watching the football with a friend or whatever. So again, a little nod. So the other one is the movie was filmed over a period of 28 days, and the world's supposed to end in 28 days. Interesting.
That's quick for a movie.
Very quick. 28 days. It's a lot of fucking scenes. A lot of scenes to film.
Movies take like every year these days.
I know.
Especially Fast and Furious. 25.
I mean, a lot of action. just great films being made out there. The other one is so there's a few garbage ones here that I don't really like.
Jake has 4 letters in his name.
Jake, Jake.
Oh my god. Mind blown.
Fuck, this is the Drew Barrymore fucking
don't smoke a trivia.
Deleted scenes. Yeah, well, director's cut, I think that they added like new scenes and they added more visual effects as well, which made it a bit interesting. You watched the director's cut of the film?
No, I watched it on Stan.
Ah, yeah.
And
so did I.
I found out the director's cut has all the parts of the physics book. Ah. So I ended up going
because they didn't show that, but I remember seeing that in the past, like when I watched it previously,
ages ago. Yeah. So it actually left out a lot of the story. So I had to look up online, look at the director's cut, some of the scenes, and especially in those scenes, they actually pause at certain parts of the book you have a reading. Like, now I get it. So trying to like gather a conclusion from watching the normal theatrical version is much harder than getting all the pieces together in the director's cut.
True. You
can still come to that point, like, oh, it's probably alternate universe, time movie. He does this, but then you can go even deeper with the director's cut.
It is. I enjoyed that one. I think a lot more. I think from the last time I saw it, the director talked about releasing the director's cut, and he said that he didn't really want to call it a director's cut because then people say, "Oh, that's his actual vision for it." But he wanted to call it just an alternate cut, like.
But I think a movie like
enhanced
that,
cut,
when you have that much solid information, you should just release it all together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The infomercials for Jim Cunningham were all filmed on Patrick Swayze's ranch in Lakeview Terrace, California. Really? I would love to be on the Patrick Swayze's ranch back in the day. That would have been great.
A massive ranch.
All right, hear this out. So Vince Vaughn reportedly turned down the role of Donnie.
Oh, thank God.
due to his age.
Yeah, that'd be so weird.
Can you picture this movie with Vince Vaughn as Donnie
definitely
Darko?
a cult classic, definitely.
He would have been too tall.
Nah, he would have been.
Can you picture him as being like the freak? I reckon Vince Vaughn would have been like the basketball player at the high school.
He would have been the kid with the mullet.
Yeah, he would have been the bully.
The bully, no one else, man.
Yeah, you put him as the bully, I think.
Nah, I can't see anyone else other than Jake Gyllenhaal doing it.
Well, the other one was Mark Wahlberg was also interested in the part,
Nah.
but he apparently he only wanted to play the role if he played it with a lisp.
That's just being silly.
That's just being silly. Well, he doesn't need that. Doesn't need that. Why would he need that?
That's something he'd probably say. Like, you know what? I'll play him, but he's got to talk like this. I'll be crazy.
Exactly. Be crazy. Again, there's some of the other facts get a little bit silly, but again, there's the other one is that there's so many references to rabbits throughout the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch with like even the photos in the background. There's like a photo of Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal at like Halloween. Jake's dressed as a rabbit.
Yeah.
There's like rabbit toys in the behind like the chair
towards
and
the
stuff.
end of the movie, there was a pumpkin head cut out like a rabbit, which is pretty cool.
Which like it's a bit of symbolism, but it also adds to the fact that he may be crazy because this has been a part of his thing. Like who knows? A lot of that stuff happens. It was also this film was voted as one of the 50 films to see before you die. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, probably
up there.
It's a cult classic.
It's a cult classic.
It's very different from the mainstream, and there's not many good kind of time movies.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into Tenet. Okay, I don't really like.
Did you like Tenet?
I think my ears exploded. But this movie was a really good time movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't super complex, but it's complex. It's not like to the point where like, you know what, I have no idea what's going on right now, but I'm just going to agree with you. So it's complex to a point where you can grasp your head around it and find some kind of conclusion to the movie.
Sure.
Instead of like, I got no idea what's going on.
I know what's happening. Here's a fun fact, a personal one of mine. Obviously, we're both of Serbian descent. When I was a young boy, and I used to see Donnie Darko in the like at the video shop, and this is before I watched it. I was like, is this a Serb film? Because Darko is like a Serbian name, and I was like, what is this? Anyway, it threw me off when I watched it. I was like, what is this movie? This is completely different. But anyway, just a fun fact.
I was the same. Because, when you're of a certain ethnicity and you see a name you see everywhere and you come to Australia where it's a really
you
Western
see that title.
And you see Darko. What is this movie with Darko? So when I was younger, I'm like, there's a big rabbit on the cover. Yeah. Donnie Darko.
It's about a Serbian rabbit.
And I'm thinking like, who has a surname with Darko? It's just so weird.
I know.
When I watched it, like it's very American.
It's very American. Well, Gretchen, the film, Jena Malone mentions Donnie Darko. Yeah, it sounds like what, like a superhero or something. Yeah. Which also plays to the fact that maybe he is because he had powers and he also had a mission. Yeah.
There's so many conclusions you can make.
So many conclusions. God damn it.
Maybe it was like Super Jesus Christ.
Maybe it was Jesus Christ Superstar. Great. I wanted to get into Jake Gyllenhaal's films. We've done it slightly previously on the podcast when we reviewed Prisoners, which is
I haven't
great.
seen it yet.
You haven't?
I haven't seen it yet.
Watch it.
Apparently amazing.
It's great. It's fantastic. But I wanted to touch on a couple of his films. I wanted to get your thoughts on where you think, personally, from the films that you've seen him and where Donnie Darko kind of sits. So I mentioned a bunch from his early career. I guess the big one for him early on is a movie called October Sky. I'm not too sure if you've seen it, but he's a young kid, rocket scientist. It's a great film. Brought him out into the scene. But right after that, he did Donnie Darko. So it was pretty early in his career that he did Donnie Darko. Like I mentioned, he was super young.
19, yeah. 19, 20.
Another one, I think it was 19 or something like that. But another one you might have seen, Bubble Boy.
Yes, Bubble Boy. Yeah.
Great comedy. And then he's obviously done a bunch of shit. Day After Tomorrow, Brokeback Mountain, Jarhead, Zodiac, Brothers with Toby Zodiac. Yeah, it's a good
Such a weird movie. That scene with the spider. That's the one?
With the spider?
Which is the one with the spider? When he walks in the room, it's a big spider in the room.
Oh, that's Enemy.
Oh my God. That movie was so weird.
Yeah, very weird.
Such a weird movie.
I know.
That was like...
That's the one.
That's like Jake Gyllenhaal going deep into like, you know what? I feel like this is going to be my movie.
What if it's the same character from Donnie Darko in Enemy. Could you see that?
Maybe.
He's still seeing things, creatures.
Just seeing spiders.
Frank, the rabbit, now the spider.
He loves insects animal, man.
I like that connection. Then a bunch, Love and Other Drugs, Source Code, End of Watch, Prisoners, Enemy, like you mentioned. Nightcrawler was really good.
That's a good movie.
Nightcrawler was really good. Southpaw, Everest, Demolition, Nocturnal Animals, a couple of others stronger. Spider-Man Far From Home, you would have seen him in. And then he has a new one on Netflix called The Guilty, which wasn't too bad. Plays this like cop.
Oh, the guy who's answering the call?
That's right.
So that used to be a Swedish movie, right? Or a Danish movie? Norwegian.
I'm not too sure. Was it?
I think it originally was.
Maybe, yeah.
And it's really good. I heard actually the original is really, really good.
Well, in most cases, yeah, like the European original is probably a bit better. I'll be interested to see that. What's a Jake Gyllenhaal film that stands out for you? And what's his best performance, do you reckon? Out of some of the ones that you know.
I'd probably say Brokeback Mountain's probably one of his best.
Yeah?
Like it's...
That and in Heath Ledger. Great performances. Great performances.
It's something that you're completely out of your element.
Yeah, true.
And for an actor to be like... it's different to play, a high school kid you can relate. Or you can
at that age and stuff.
Jarhead, you can also relate, you know what I mean? Jarhead's like, he's a very, very different character in that movie, and he's gone from, super alpha male to Brokeback Mountain, which is a fucking amazing movie. It's a really amazing movie. And to get into and not just him, but Heath Ledger together in that movie, it's to act like that. Sure. It's insane.
It is. It's really good. Are you a big fan of Nightcrawler as well? Yeah. That one probably stands out for me because his performance in that is like really fucking great.
Yeah, probably say Breakback, Nightcrawler, and because Donnie Darko is a cult classic. He's so young, like to be that young.
Do you think the movie Donnie Darko is so good? Obviously, Jake Gyllenhaal's performances in it is really good as well, but I think the movie as a whole really stands out.
It's the combo.
Yeah, it's the combo.
The movie's amazing. Yeah. Like, isn't the concept's amazing if you understand it? And I feel like I can't see anyone else act in that movie.
Vince Vaughn.
That would have been, or rather Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell as Donnie Darko.
Or imagine, what's his name? Seth Rogen.
As Donnie Darko.
Jake Gyllenhaal is Seth Rogen.
As the bully. Yeah, I reckon Rogen.
Frank.
It's just Seth Rogen high.
Yeah, Seth Rogen would have been high. That's it. He would have been like, he's just been stoned the whole movie.
Same thing. He's just
I keep seeing this big bunny. I'm so high.
I'm seeing these rabbits, man.
He would have been sleeping in bed every day. It was too high.
It would have been perfect for him, actually. I like that. It's tough one. I think with Gyllenhaal, I think as the years went on, he's become such a great actor and become even a better actor, and some of these are later performances and stuff like that. But his work early on was fucking great as well. So, but like you said, I think the combo is what works really well for Donnie Darko. Yeah, but I think I'd probably put Brokeback Mountain, Nightcrawler at the top there, and then maybe Donnie Darko for him. Yeah. He's done a lot of interesting films. Like you said, he likes to pick him. Really likes to pick him. I wanted to quickly talk about the director, Richard Kelly. I don't think he's done a whole heap of
Rick Astley.
He's done other movies, but nothing that I'm looking at right now stands out that it's a movie. It's I've seen that. You know what I mean?
I think he was just in the zone, and he's probably really high.
Probably.
And he made a really good concept.
I know.
And that was it.
It fucking worked. But how do you it's hard to repeat.
And it's hard to top that.
It's hard to top it.
It's hard to top that.
I mean, other directors have done things like that, obviously topped it, but it's extremely hard.
But see, I think because it was so abstract that it's hard to top something so abstract. It's like you use all of your creative juices and you make this movie and you're
idea,
I'm out of juice.
I can't do it no more, man.
No more juice. So it's hard, man. It's we were speaking about this a few weeks ago that if you're an artist and you make a really good song, and then people are like, all right, make a better one.
You've worked your whole life leading up to that first album or first song. Everything, all your emotions, everything's put into that, right? Now do it again.
Yeah, imagine being a painter and you literally paint everything that you feel in this one painting.
Yeah.
All your experiences in one painting.
Leading up to that.
Instead of like little, you could have made like small portions of a movie.
Yeah.
But he made this one movie. So like this one painting, it's everything. And you're like, oh, that's all I had.
It's amazing. Yeah. All right. Look, I'd like to get your final thoughts on the film, and just overall. Like, first of all, give me a rating out of 100. If it's going against the Rotten Tomato, where do you place Donnie Darko?
Damn. Look, I'm not the best reviewer in terms of numbers.
Damn, I don't like numbers, man.
Look, 90 sticks in my head.
96 in your head?
90 sticks.
Oh, 90 sticks.
90 sticks in my head.
No, I've got 90 sticks.
How many sticks
in my
is that?
head. You do the math. Boom.
I honestly think 90. That's what like is in my head.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the movie. I don't think it's a perfect movie, especially because it is so complex. Sometimes when a movie is very ambiguous, you're kind of left to your imagination, which I really like.
Yeah. But sometimes that could also be a bad thing. There's a lot of movies that are too ambiguous.
Because think about how many people still kind of maybe watch a movie and like, you know what, I don't know what's going on. One day they're thinking, this is the conclusion. The other day, like, this is the conclusion. They're like, oh my God. And they end up being grandma death, you know?
Grandma death, baby.
Oh my God.
Got mail.
What's going on? Is it 90s and 95s and 50? I don't know what's going on.
I got 90 sticks in my head.
The 90 sticks, the 5 sticks. What happened in the movie? How many sticks?
How many sticks do I have? I don't know. Yeah.
So 90.
90% is good. I like that. What do you think Rotten Tomato has it at the moment? Take a wild guess.
I'd probably say 90.
90 sticks.
Was it 90 sticks? God damn.
How many sticks does Rotten Tomato have?
So 90?
It's 86.
86.
You were close.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those, I might be a bit biased in terms of that I watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I had this whole like hype thing, like, oh, watch Donnie Darko, I'm cooler than you, you know?
I know movies.
And they're like, what's Donnie Darko? You don't know what Donnie Darko is, I'm cooler than you. Yeah. So watching that movie and the whole bunny is very, you know.
I like bunnies.
I like bunnies. I like really cool looking bunnies. And then watching it a couple more times as I got older, watching it again, I'm like, it's one, it's nostalgic.
Yeah, it is.
Two, your understanding of the movie is much better.
True.
So you're like, oh, that's what the movie was about.
Yeah.
You kind of have a gist of it when you're younger.
Yeah.
But it's very like surface level. You know, as you get older, like this is really complex.
Yeah.
And I can see how well thought out the script was. So yeah, I think 90.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it really wrapped it up with Mad World at the end. It was just amazing.
Mad World.
Amazing.
Such a great song. Yeah.
Amazing.
It just fits the movie so well. You were mentioning it off camera as well that it's like you said, it's like it's come straightly out of Donnie Darko's head. Like it fits his personality, his life.
Couldn't explain himself properly. And I think if you were to explain his thoughts and what he was going through in his life, that's the song.
Yeah, exactly. Plays well. Yeah. Every time I hear it, I think of the movie as well.
Yeah.
It's really connected.
It's probably the first time most people heard that song properly.
Probably, yeah. But it's it really sticks. You know, for me, realizing that Donnie Darko in my teen years, when I watched it a couple more times and realizing, holy shit, this is a sci-fi film.
Yeah, it is.
Which doesn't play like that. It plays more as an indie and stuff like that. Or it could also be like a bit of a gritty, like maybe it's a bit scary as well in ways. But it's a fucking cool fucking sci-fi film.
It's a really cool sci-fi
film. Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, they're traveling to space or they're going to go
down to Earth,
planet. Yeah. It's all on Earth, and the whole alternate parallel universe is kind of blended in to each other. Because once that artifact, you know, that engine comes down, he is in the, you know, tangent universe without you even knowing.
Exactly.
You know, like some movies, like, oh my God, everything's upside down.
Yeah.
You know? So you don't even understand it till the movie. You're like, wait a second, maybe from the part where the plane crash to the end, that was all an alternate universe.
Exactly.
So it's a good sci-fi without telling you it's a sci-fi.
Exactly. It doesn't doesn't hammer you with the sci-fi and special effects and things like that. Very subtle. I love it. It's a great film. It's one of my favorites. It's a cult classic. You know, I can keep watching it. I think it's going to get better with age. Like we said before, I couldn't remember that it was set in the 80s. I think it's going to stay pretty timeless. Except for Seth Rogen being the bully. That's all I'm going to say.
Looks the same.
Looks the same. Exactly the same. It was great. Charlie, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure. We'll do it again.
Thank you, Big Sid.
We'll get into some more deeper deep and meaningful films.
Oh yes, 100%.
Thanks for coming on, and for the rest of you, we'll catch you again soon.
Thank you for having me. Have a great night. Bye bye.
Have a great night. Bye bye.